Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt,
And I'm Denny Dumas.
and this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
Okay, Monica, you've just bought your first investment property. You're thrilled. I give you keys and I walk away. What's next? And I think this is such a great topic, and it's coming from a conversation with a past client who had this exact situation. And we talk a lot about investing in real estate, building wealth in real estate, but not so much about the practical next steps of finding a tenant, of placing the tenant, of being a landlord, of answering the phone and having to make maintenance calls and things like that. So we wanted to just share some insight into how to be successful after you get the keys and placing a tenant in a rental property.
For sure. Right off the bat, there are two different avenues to take. One, manage it yourself. Two, hire somebody to manage it for you. I highly recommend trying to do it yourself if you can. If you've educated yourself enough on the landlord-tenant process, there's so much information available online. So I really recommend doing your research.
Even just on that point,
Yeah.
I think it depends a lot on the property type. If you're a first-time landlord and you don't want to spend a lot of time on this, and you bought a 1940s home that's in fairly original condition that potentially could have a lot of phone calls with maintenance items, then maybe explore the idea of a property manager. Don't pick the first one that you talk to. Interview a few and try to understand what they're going to do for you and what that service is going to be like. But if you are buying a condo that was built in the last 5 years, it's going to be pretty low maintenance, especially if you are selective of what type of tenant you are picking. So those ones I tend to steer towards, suggesting people take it on for a year. And if the amount of work that you're putting into it is overwhelming or not what you want to take on, then explore the process of hiring a property manager.
Right. With property managers, it's like anything. You need to ask lots of questions. What are the fees? That's a big one. The fees are pretty different depending on who you hire, and there's a lot of hidden fees with property managers. So make sure you know what they are, and weigh those against your time to manage the property. They can be a lot. The fees can be a lot. So make sure you know what those are. So setting property management aside, if you're going to go it alone, I highly recommend right away getting your hands on some professional photography and a professional floor plan. These are really, really important. Maybe not for the first time you tenant the property, but the second time it will definitely be very important to have really nice photos and floor plan. You don't know what type of tenant is going to end up living in there, and you don't know when they're going to move out, but you do know you're going to need photos when they do, and they need to look nice. A lot of you that have rented places or thought about it, or even looked at real estate photography, there's a huge difference in non-professional versus professional. And it makes a difference. Just like in real estate resale, it makes a difference in tenanting a property.
If you're considering hiring a property manager, I would highly suggest one of your questions be, show me some previous listings that you've posted. And then just take a look at what they look like, right? Like, our real estate team in resale has built a business on marketing resale homes extremely well. And if you look let's say you bought a condo in Coquitlam and you're looking in that little area trying to pick what you're going to post this condo, what you're going to post the rent at, you're going to see probably 90% of them taken with iPhones. They're going to be dark. They're going to be tenant clutter all over the place. The photos are going to be atrocious. How do you make yours stand out when a potential tenant is looking through Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji or wherever they're looking for a rental, and they're scrolling through listings and they see one with professional photography, which is really rare in the rental side.
Super rare.
Which absolutely blows my mind. They're going to click on that. It's going to look way better than what they've seen before. And they're not going to care if the rent is $100 or $200 difference per month. I suggested to a client the other day that professional photography might cost you $300 to $400. A floor plan might cost you $150. So let's say $500 all in for marketing. That may get you out an extra $200 to $300 per month. And that cost goes away in a month and a half. 2
And you
months.
keep the photos forever for
Exactly.
however long you
Oh
have.
my gosh.
For however long you have the investment property. The mindset needs to be when you buy an investment property that this is a business and this is an investment. I know it sounds kind of silly, but you wouldn't open any type of business without some sort of professional logos or things like that. And you need to treat this process the same. It's a business, it's your investment. Just plan to get professional photography and floor plan done. Floor plan's what, like $150 or something? It's totally worth it, especially if you have a detached, especially if you don't have one from that. You can maybe sometimes get one from the listing agent. Ask the listing agent if you can have it. What do they care? They're never going to see the property again. But get your hands on a professional floor plan. It's a business and you should treat it like it.
If you're buying new construction, too often you have a floor plan, so it's easy to use that. And it is shocking how many people don't put the floor plan in.
Yeah, it saves your time big time. And we know this from experience in resale. If tenants and people know if the property is going to work for them or not work for them just based on the floor plan. And if you're managing the property yourself and you take somebody to see the 2-bed plus den and they get there and realize the den is just not going to work for them as a third bedroom, which they thought it was. And you made this whole, like you went down, you gave 24-hour notice to your tenant hated it, you dealt with them, you got the showing in, they walk through the door and they say, this den's not going to work for us. Well, they would have known that if you had a professional floor plan. So it's really, really important. It's good for yourself and it's good for the tenants and it's good for the potential renter. Yeah.
Next. The write-up.
Ooh, that's a big one. Make it pretty, guys. Try hard.
I get that this kind of stuff can be overwhelming for people, especially your first investment property, but don't think you have to do it all on your own. Like, you can steal,
Yeah.
you can copy and paste
Yeah.
from write-ups of listings in that building if you're renting a condo, right? Look at the last 5 sales in that building. Ask your realtor to send you the last 5 sales in that building and just pick out the stuff in the write-ups that you like.
Yeah.
If you don't know the neighborhood that well, that's totally fine. You're going to be able to copy and paste 2 sentences from one of those write-ups that says, best community center in this neighborhood, close to one of the best elementary schools in the neighborhood, 2-minute walk to SkyTrain, whatever, right? But educating tenants, a lot of tenants are moving from other cities and they don't know all these amenities. And just, again, on a flooded platform like Facebook Marketplace, it's how do you set yourself apart? And the very first thing is catching someone's eye with very nice photos. And then the second is educating them on that neighborhood.
Right. And so you need to know your product. You need to know what it is that you're renting. Make sure you know all the amenities. Make sure you know where they are in the building. Make sure you know where your storage locker is and your parking and everything like that. Definitely, if it's a townhouse, definitely know what type of schools are in the area, what levels of schools. Definitely know where the nearest transit is, and mention that a lot of tenants, transit and parking are really important to them. Street parking available. Is there permit parking on the street? Things like that are really important. So just know your product, included in the write-up.
How do you pick a rent?
Ooh, that's well, I do 2 things with my investment properties. One, I look online right away to see what's available. I look at how much my mortgage is on the property, how much my strata payments are, and I get my dream price and I get a realistic price of how much other places are renting for, and I kind of blend those 2 together. I definitely recommend, if you have time, trying a higher price for rent if you can. Most of the time when I've tried a higher price, I've gotten it. So I don't know if it's because of my professional photography and amazing write-ups, but you should try, if you have time, try a little bit higher. Yeah.
There's so many stories we could share of properties currently for rent on Facebook Marketplace. We post a property with professional photos, with a floor plan that looks good, has a great write-up, and it rents for an extra $300 to $500 a month.
All the time. We do it all the time.
I've even had tenants of my own investment properties tell me that something down the street that is almost the same is listed $600 or $700 less. I said, okay, go rent that one.
Yeah.
And then they rented mine.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. It's, again, back to it's a business thing. If you treat it like a business, answer the calls on your tenant's call, be professional in your appointments and know everything about the product. It gives people a peace of mind, just like any other business. So if they know that you know what it is that you're renting, it makes them feel more comfortable. And if they like how it looks, it makes them feel more comfortable. And I think when it comes to pricing is very important. I mean, all these other things that we're saying are important, but if you sell yourself short, what's the point? So I think knowing the neighborhood, knowing what other places are renting for, but also sticking true to your investment and knowing like your worth and what the property is worth is really important. Just because something rented for, you heard somebody in the building is renting for $3,000 a month, you don't know how long they've been there. Maybe they've been there 5 years. Is there no other properties like yours available? Then you get to ask more. It's just the way the business goes.
Once you place the tenant, you have done everything that we've talked about. You've taken your professional photos. You have done a floor plan. You have educated tenants on the neighborhood. You've shown it to everyone. You have checked references. You have selected this fantastic tenant. What's next? And I always tell people, like, communicate really well with the tenant. Answer the phone when they call you. But even on the day that they're moving in, go there. Don't leave a key for them. It's just like you want to have them, one, respect you, understand that you are now a professional running a investment company business. But you want them to respect the property. And so I feel like the better you treat them, the kinder you are to them on that like move-in day goes a long, long way. So whether it's like dropping off a bottle of wine or a 6-pack of beer or something and with the keys and just saying, thanks so much. Good luck with your move-in day. If there's anything I can do, let me know. It goes a really, really long way rather than just, okay, the keys under the mat. Good luck.
For sure. Be present is a big one and make the move-in experience nice. Make sure the home is clean. If it's the first time they're moving in, it probably is clean from the last person that handed you the keys. But if it's a tenant-to-tenant handover, be present, do your walkthroughs, and then make sure it's really clean and spend an extra $100 to $300 making sure it's really, really clean when they move in. Like Denny said, if you show that you respect the property, they will too.
Next, if you are deciding to take this on yourself, not hiring a property management company, and you do not have much experience in the trades, you are not a handy person, when that phone call comes, it's going to be really stressful and really overwhelming if you haven't done a little bit of proactive due diligence in terms of putting together some sort of trades list. So whenever we're handing keys to investment clients, we are always saying, like, this is not the end of our relationship. Feel free to reach out to us for whatever you need. If you need a plumber contact for something that you don't know what's going on, or an electrician or whatever, but say be proactive in putting that list together, even just finding a few companies that have good reputations in that neighborhood and just building a list so that if something happens in a year or 6 months, you have a phone call to call right away rather than, oh shoot, what do I do now?
Yeah, get a good handyman on speed dial. A lot of things that tenants call for, anyone that's handy and has some tools can probably handle most of what they usually need. So ask your realtor if they have a handy. Most realtors have handymen that they have used for years. We do. And an electrician and a plumber is a good one to have, a really good one to have. And answer those calls right away from your tenant and get things fixed right away. Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
Again, the better you communicate with them, the better you treat them, the better they're going to treat your property, which is the investment, which is a big goal.
Totally. Yeah. What's next? So you follow up. You're a good landlord. Is that it? What about like contract signing, like tenant signing? Should we talk about lease agreements?
Sure. Good one.
Okay. So once you find a tenant, it's time to sign a lease agreement. It takes some time to get familiar with it. Again, all of this information is online. The PDFs are online. The tenancy board, you can download them, go over them. There's tons of tips. If you go through the website, there's a lot of tips and tools of how to use a tenancy agreement. I come across different ones all the time that other property management companies use, but I recommend just sticking with the one on the tenancy board website. Fill it out completely and fill it out correctly and completely. Go over it a few times if you've never done it before, and be really, really thorough with your walkthrough. The tenants will appreciate it. If you note like cracked tile and if you note different things, they're going to appreciate how well you've marked everything, but also it keeps everyone accountable. So walkthrough is really important. Get your pen and pad out. do it with them in person. Don't send them the walkthrough and ask them to do it and send it back to you. That's something you can do on the first day that they move in.
Be specific in the tenancy agreement too, with things that are included or excluded, i.e. a garage or parking or whatever that may be.
Or bills like internet, electricity, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. The other thing that comes up often in either townhomes or single family homes is like, who's responsible for cutting the grass and maintaining the yard and things like that. And if you are asking the tenant to do that, make sure that it's spelled out pretty clearly what their responsibility is monthly to maintain the yard or the lawn.
Yeah. And make sure they understand what they're signing, and make sure they have an opportunity to ask any questions if they don't understand, and make sure they have a copy. That's all you can do.
Damage deposit, pet deposit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So those can be 50% of the first month's rent. Usually that's what landlords are doing, are collecting a damage deposit of 50%. You can also ask them for a 50% pet deposit as well. So people think allowing pets is scary.
I think kids are worse in many cases.
Totally.
Yeah.
And understand what neighborhood you are purchasing in. If you are purchasing in a very, very dog-friendly, very outdoorsy community, the likelihood of your potential tenants having a pet is extremely high. If you're purchasing in a very urban downtown environment, potentially that is a lower percentage. But if you're buying in an outdoorsy community, Port Moody, North Vancouver, that a lot of people have dogs and cats, and then you are now writing in your write-up when you're marketing this home, no pets allowed, you're just cutting out probably 75 or 80% of your potential.
I've always allowed pets in all of my investment properties. I personally haven't had a problem. I've heard a few people that have had problems with tenants with pets. I've heard far more that have problems with just bad tenants or tenants with noisy children and they get complaints and things like that. I rarely get complaints about pets. I recommend allowing it for all those same reasons. And the tenants pay more if they can have their pet. So that's something to remember. Because a lot of landlords just rule out everyone with pets, there's not really a lot of rentals available out there that allow them. So if you can and you're comfortable with it, I recommend letting them bring the puppies.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good luck.
This is exciting times, guys.
You started a new business. Congratulations.